So for this exercise you need to make sure you're in 701 Spreadsheets, Lesson 3, Spreadsheet Analysis. We're going to need these first two files, the PDF and the Excel file for Hooke's Law. Once we've got those loaded, you go to the Hooke's Law one, get hold of the top of the window in the middle, pull it down and then you throw it off the side of the screen and select your spreadsheet on the other side. To zoom in, to make those a little bit bigger, hold down Control and use your mouse wheel just so that you've got that a little bit bigger so you can see exactly what's going on. Hooke's Law is a science experiment and it's to do with testing the stretching of materials. So what we've got a spring there, and without any force on it at all, the spring is 5.2 centimeters long. So when we put a force of 1 newtons on there, the length of the spring goes to 9.1, but that's not the stretch because you've got to take away the original length of the spring. So the first thing that we need to do then for our exercise here is type in the numbers from the table. So use the number pad and the arrow keys on the keyboard. And then back up to here, so just type in each of these. So where are we? 21.4, and then also just every so often just have a quick check, make sure that you're still on the right line for any of these. Once we've got all of those in, good idea, pop up and click your save icon up there. So now we need to work out how much the spring has stretched. So what we're doing is taking the original length of the spring off each of these numbers. So we're going to go equals that number minus the same number, but if we leave it like that, when we replicate, it'll then just on the left side do 9.1 minus 9.1. So whilst we're just next to that number, press F4 on your keyboard and it keeps this number as what's called an absolute cell reference. That means it will not change that cell reference when we replicate and B2 becomes B3, B4 and so on. So press enter, go back up, get hold of the replicator and drag that down to replicate. So we can see with each one now, look, it's always taking that top number away. So we've got each of these, and then we're going to put an XY scatter graph on there. Before I do that, let's just go back to full screen so we can see exactly what we're doing. So before we do that, I'm going to highlight the table and put on all borders. I'm going to highlight our titles at the top and just make those bold just so they stand out a little bit on there. So what we need with this then is a scatter graph of the force against the stretch of the spring. So we highlight that first one, we go to the top of this one, and once we're there we hold down Control and we highlight that, and then we're going to go insert, and the XY scatter graphs are here, and we want our XY scatter graph. Last thing that we need to do here is right click on one data point and add the trend line. So I can close this bit down so we don't have to do anything else. So if we were doing this in a science lesson, we can say that a spring, at least up to that force of 10 newtons, it does obey Hooke's law because we've got that linear stretch as we apply a different force. Final thing that you need to do here, or two final things, move that so it's underneath your table there. Let's maybe just bring that in slightly so that it's in line with the table, and underneath the table click in there and put in your name and class, making sure again capital letters on each one. Save your work, move on to the next exercise.